Okay, this is Marty Cohen and kind of the walkthrough of the video. The first thing they wanted was something she mentioned specifically that she wants a neat finished look. They also want to make sure that every spring they don't have to come out and do a lot of pruning and cutback. They hate how messy the landscape is. They also don't want things bunched together. I have a feeling they're an older couple. You know Chris better than I do, but they're an older couple, so they want it to look nice, but at the same time, they don't want to break the bank doing that. There was only a couple things that they really wanted to keep, and that was 4 bushes. That was this here. This is a native yopon, and they have another one on the other side, the front corner of the house. This pine tree, and then this bush here, which I believe was a wax myrtle. We didn't get super close. My goal is to prune these up as trees. Right now they're really short, but eventually they will grow up into small trees, and then you can prune them and do the planting underneath it. And then same with this wax myrtle. This one you can actually shape pretty nicely and get it looking really, really clean, or you can leave it more natural. I prefer kind of the natural look. The really cool thing about these 3 trees is that they have really cool trunks, meaning they're kind of wild, little wild looking. So you can put some lighting underneath there, and it's just really, really pretty at night to see those trunks lit up. The pine tree will eventually get to be very, very tall. So right now it's providing some nice height, but in the long run it's going to be so tall that it's going to go past the point of providing that nice height for you. And then let's see here. Let me pause for just 1 second. Okay, so here, let me play this video a little bit. So some of the things that they wanted a really clean landscape with this stacked stone, the chop block borders. So we can do that very nicely with this border here. In the good and the better plan, the stone is not included. So here's the good plan. It only includes a little mulch ring underneath these guys here. And if you notice, this one is green and this one is green. We might move them just a tiny bit so they're centered in the beds that they need to be. And right now this one is like in this little area right here. I want to move it away from the driveway a little bit. And in the good plan, I don't have it shown in the proposal and whatnot because I don't want to get them confused, but we will go back and patch. We will put grass over this area here. That was just keeping the landscape very simple and very clean. I didn't really know how else to break it down. I did include putting the better on here in the good because I felt that was really, really important to them. This gravel will be taken from the gravel around the house. I feel like the house foundation is sitting up high enough that they don't necessarily need a gravel border around the house. So that's what this would be. It's just moved. There's no allowance in there to provide any new gravel. And what this does is it allows the people that are working utility box to get in there and work on that without messing up any shrubs in the future. These are variegated pittosporums, and they will grow up to be it'll be a pretty solid hedge. And it can be anywhere from 2 feet tall to 6 feet tall if you let it, but pruning probably about 3 to 4 times a year will keep it at the height, whatever they want. And then a front here, and then also here, these are drift roses, some evergreenness that'll bloom as well too. And the sun moves from right to left. So I have a feeling that most of this front yard is going to be full sun pretty much all day. To me, neat and clean means that they want mostly evergreen stuff because they want it to look good year round. But I did include a few things to bloom because I did mention that was important to them. A combination of bushes that would bloom and a combination of annual flowers. Of course, letting them know that these pink things here are annual flowers. They don't have to be pink. They can be whatever they want. They can also be perennials if they want them to be. Bushes that bloom. I have a plumbago right here. So this guy will bloom from late spring all the way until a freeze, or like this year, it never even really stopped blooming. And then you've got a dwarf bottle brush right here. These guys will bloom kind of all summer long. The drift roses, like they're in full bloom right now. I mean, they're happy. They're doing well. Unless we get a really hard freeze or it gets super, super hot, those are the only times the drift roses really stop or slow down blooming. And then some little azaleas here. These guys are evergreen. Really, the roses will be evergreen. Really, the only thing that would die back would be the plumbago. Everything else in this front yard will be evergreen. If we get a really hard freeze, these dwarf bottle brush can get nipped a little bit, but they always come back. I've never seen them get totally killed by a freeze. These are compact hollies here and also along this front here. These guys are evergreen. They will eventually, I would let them grow together to be a kind of a hedge, but they grow slow enough. They would only take like 2 prunings a year to keep them at the height you want them. To get a little height on this column here in the front of this garage and right here, I put a Japanese yew. What I'd like to do is put a smaller one, a 15-gallon. It'll probably go in at around 3 feet tall or so. And they grow pretty slow. So one good pruning a year should keep it at the height you want to. Then these here are sunshine Ligustrums. So they are a bright yellow color, so kind of mixing in some green, some olive green, and then some bright yellow, so that'll be a nice combination here. And then here, these and these guys are blue rug junipers. They get their name because they have a slight tint of kind of a bluish green color. They stay low and they're evergreen, very low maintenance. We've had really good luck with these blue rug junipers. And then here, these are Indian hawthorns, these guys here, and they'll bloom in the spring. They'll either bloom pink or white, are what these guys will do. Here, we'll just create, like I said, little mulch rings around that and kind of go from there. So that's the good plan. The better plan includes the little bed around the back patio. Of course, you can kind of see the back patio here. So a little bed that kind of sweeps in a little bit here and allows them to walk out right here. Another plumbago, so this provide a big punch of color when they're sitting here on their deck and kind of looking out. Some dwarf yaupon, some kind of evergreenness here. And then these are irises. So these guys will kind of bloom in the spring and summer. Kind of a white flower with a really pretty blue center. And they're evergreen. Unless we get a really, really hard freeze, they'll look good year round. And then some more sunshines right here. So you've got some yellow, some kind of olive green color, a grass, and then some blooming here. And then, of course, some annuals or perennials. In just the better plan, there's no stone border around those beds. And then if you noticed, so I upgraded here in the front. I added the bed around the trees. Being they wanted a really clean look, I just kept this a nice, simple, straight line to keep it nice and clean. Some annual color here. So when you're driving down the street, you really get some color that kind of shows off to your neighbors and looks really good year round. Then a nice evergreen hedge directly behind it. Eventually these guys could grow together to be a nice hedge. I recommend hedges because they're easier to prune than balls, but if they want to keep them separated, they'll be planted far enough apart that that won't be a problem. Then here, evergreen, blue rug junipers here and here on each side, and then some sunshine ligustrums. I think the pine tree will be more than tall enough to allow these guys to really turn their bright yellow color. Simple, clean bed, looking good year round. It's really going to be a nice centerpiece there. Here as you're driving up the driveway, I tried to pull this bed away from the driveway to give them space as they back out of the car. I know they had talked about bringing it all the way to the house here, but honestly, as it did this, it really made this crowded right in here. So I always like to try to pull these things away a little bit. and kind of go that route. When you see the best plan, it kind of addresses this void area here if that becomes an issue. Indian hawthorns here. So again, evergreen, it'll bloom in the spring, pink or white, blue rug juniper, and then some sunshine ligustrums. So that's really the only changes that I made there. Again, there's no stack stone border or anything like that in the better plan. Now the best plan addresses the fact that they wanted to raise the stone around the beds and to raise them up really high. It doesn't mean that without the stack stone we won't raise up the beds. What it means is that they're going to be kind of mounded and we'll have a nice clean ditch edge. Yes, the stone will look really nice and it'll help keep mulch and things like that off of the sidewalks and stuff, but I just kind of wanted to show that as kind of an upgrade option if they wanted it. So here the big change is the fact that I kind of addressed this void area here, so gave them a nice pathway over to the hose bib, nice easy way to walk, so they can drag their hose around and whatnot. This stone along the driveway is only going to be raised up like an inch or two, just enough to try to keep that gravel in a little bit better. But like if they drive over it, it won't be a big deal or anything like that. It should be fine. It might just flatten it a little bit, but that's it. And then here, kind of the same thing, low step. That way they can easily walk to the lawn, the turf area if they want to. They won't have to like step over anything. The beds will be raised up at least a good 6 inches. In the proposal, it says the average height is 8 inches. The reason why is because it slopes almost 1.5 feet from the house to the street. So there's actually a decent slope. The front of these beds will be raised up a little bit higher than the back, just due to that slope. So if you noticed, I added stacked stone around all these areas. I also added a little border of stacked stone here to prevent any mulch and stuff from washing onto their patio. And I also addressed the gutter issue. I would highly recommend this if they can do it. We'll tie these 2 gutters, we'll run it underneath the sidewalk there, and we'll tie these 2 gutters in and bring it to the street. So there's 2 sidewalks. We'll take it all the way to the street, not just to the thing there. But we'll take this all the way to the street and let it pop out. That'll really ensure these beds will be much, much healthier if we can get that water out of there. And if we end up just dumping the water like right here and onto the lawn, then it'll make the lawn area, it won't do as well. Plus it could even end up hurting this bed. If I dump this gutter to right here and on the sidewalk, then it makes this sidewalk a big mess. So anyway, that's really the difference between the good, better, best. Let me finish walking through the plan with you, or the proposal, the video. So you can see there, that's set really low. You see the slope from the front to the back there. You see the way kind of the arch, the layered look that we wanted, nice and clean. Almost everything's going to be evergreen. The plants, I try to do a nice spacing on them. Typically I would plant them a little denser, but I really want to make sure that things weren't too crowded for them. You see the height here to kind of give different elevations, really add a lot to a landscape. And right now with these little trees being so short, there's just not much height variation in there. We're only going to do the Black Star gravel here because it's such a little area. I just didn't have enough to where I could purchase crushed granite gravel and Black Star, but we'll see if they really want that or not. So see kind of an easy walk through here. It'll be really pretty as they walk up the sidewalk, really allowing their guests to have a nice view as they come in. And then just a little bit of color in here with these bushes right here, and then evergreen all the way around. So the bed should always look good. Same thing here. Everything over here in this bed is evergreen. The one bush I forgot was this one. It's called a pineapple guava. It's got all kind of an olive green color on it, and it's got a really cool kind of white and red flower. Look it up if you have any questions about it. But this bush right here, tree, it's the yopon, native yopon. We might end up pulling that out just a little bit. I'm imagining we're going to need to add a zone or 2 of irrigation because we're making that one front bed by the street and the bed to the left and the bed in front of the transformers larger. We're going to have to adjust all the front And then back here, I'm going to recommend this be on its own zone. So we're going to add a zone for this bed back here and make 2 zone adjustments for the front. You see kind of the step addressing that. To make this bed high enough, the stone around this bed is going to be fairly tall, because what I would like, since 99% of the time they're going to be looking from the patio out, I want them to be able to see a little short. This will be sticking up like maybe 2 inches above the patio, 2 or 3 inches. So not much, but it'll allow them to really see that stone border just a little bit, and then a punch of color that they'll be able to enjoy from that screened-in patio in here. So that should be it. Yeah, good luck with this one. And there's some great notes in the Trello app as well too. So look through all those before you go.